This is the last lesson in this book, right? This quarter, and I suppose if you're going to have a series of lessons on biblical answers to important questions, I suppose the sanctity and sacredness of life would have to come up, right? And that is certainly a relevant topic for our day. There's no question about that. I'll get comfortable here in a minute. What I thought we'd do tonight, I just basically pulled out some stuff from the lesson and just made an outline to keep us on task. And just felt like there was some stuff in here that's super important. It's the general stuff. The rest of it, we all understand that. But the author asks the question, is life sacred? Isn't it something that we have to ask that question? Right? It's like asking, does gravity cause things to fall? Yeah. Yeah, it's basic, right? So as I was studying this lesson, the thought came to my mind of the issue of, and I know we don't talk about this much, but the importance of a person's worldview. You ever hear of that before? You probably don't talk about it ever. You probably don't think about it, but you have it. It's like your liver. You never talk about your liver, but it's in there, right? Trust me, it's in there. If it wasn't, you'd be sick as I don't know what. Probably wouldn't be with us. Yeah. So, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a liver. So a person's worldview is huge. You have one. It functions in your heart and mind like the background program in a computer. I don't know if you know what that is, but like I have Norton antivirus in my computer. It's this big, massive elephant that runs around in the back of my computer, slowing it down all the time, right? These background programs, they're running, affecting the performance of the device, slowing it down, and they're doing something. Your worldview kind of works that way. A person's worldview is the lens through which they view the world. It's kind of the starting point for them. Everything falls under that umbrella. Is there a God? If there is a God, who is he? And if we know who he is, what is he like? Is he distant? Is he close? Does he matter? Is he whatever I want to make him? Is God just a higher power? Is he some concept? Is he the milk of human kindness? Humanism would suggest that to us. If you're a humanist, you might believe that God is people. It's the goodness of people in the world, that I am God. I have the potential to be God-like and do and act good in the world to people. Your worldview, worldviews always, and people don't talk like this way, but they begin with what you think about God. That's where it all begins. Think of the implications of that. If God is not creator, and if he isn't the source and cause of everything, what effect does that have on your worldview? I love stuff like this. I eat this for breakfast. What if...
if you have your life centered around the Lord and all your thoughts and beliefs and feelings and emotions and everything is circled around that.
Yeah. And back to creatorship. If God didn't make it all, if he didn't cause it all, if he didn't design it all, if he isn't the original cause of it all, then what do I do with my life? What are the boundaries then? What are the options for me at that point? What decisions can I make? Who's going to run? Who's going to drive the car? Right? Your worldview matters. What if you believe there's a God, but you don't think he's actively involved? We're not going to go into this. There's a difference between deism and theism, right? Some people think, yeah, there might be a God, but if he's out there, he's not involved in our affairs. He's just like a top. He started it spinning and he steps back and says, hope it's okay. Hope things go well for you. What implications are there? If there is a God, but he's not involved. Do what, Bill? Anything goes. Exactly. That's where I'm kind of going with it. What you believe about God, and I want to remind you, we live in a culture where there are a lot of kids around us who've never opened a Bible. You ask them to find Matthew 12:14, and they won't we are not in a churched culture, right? Like it was back in the 40s, 50s, and even 60s, and even to a degree the 70s. It's not that way anymore. Your worldview, so if you eliminate God entirely, here's the trick and the catch. I'm going somewhere. We're going to get to this. If you eliminate God entirely, because we're created in his image, because we are wired for worship. Where have you heard that before? This morning, I bet. Because we're wired to worship, we have a God-shaped vacuum in us that unless it's filled with him, we go amok. And if you eliminate God, you have to become God at that point. You do. You may not say it that way, you may not think of it that way, but because you're a human being, you have to serve and worship something. The Bible talks about this, about serving the creature and serving the self instead of God. Yeah. So when we talk about is life sacred, how you answer that has everything to do with your worldview. If there is no God, or if we're just little mini gods, or if there's no God and nothing matters, and like Bill said, we can do anything we want, or if it's going to be, it's up to me, if we are the last line of authority on planet Earth as human beings, then essentially we can decide anything we want for ourselves. Situational ethics can come into play. You know, if it feels good, do it. Might not be wrong for you, but it's right for me. I'm going to make my own way. Or like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, right? So all of this stuff is relevant when we talk about the sanctity and sacredness of life. Essentially, simply stated, when you take God out of things, everything goes crazy. It falls apart.
That's why there's so much evil.
There's so much evil, yes. When you take him out of the equation, right? When I was a kid in third grade, my third grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Byers. She lived near you, I think, Deanna, on the West End somewhere. I don't know if you ever knew. She was my third grade teacher, Johnston Elementary. I can remember to this day in class, before she taught us how to write, read, or do math, she had this big honking Bible. Pulled it out, looked like it'd been through World War II. She'd read it once or twice. And I can still see her standing there, tears dripping, running down her face onto that Bible. She read it to us. Try doing that today. You'd get in a whole world of hurt as a public educator. You would. So, obviously this lesson centers around life. Abortion comes up. So what I thought we would do tonight, just briefly, is the author does a fantastic job in this lesson of a word study. And he really does a good job with that, especially around Psalm 139, which that's kind of the first few verses. So I'm going to read Psalm 139, 12 through 16. It's the first scripture selection that's in your quarterly. And I want to spend a little time breaking that apart because I think it'll help us and asking the question, Is life sacred? Well, obviously, I'm guessing all of us tonight would say wholeheartedly, absolutely, right? Anything God gives is sacred, right? Anything. Pregnancy, intimacy between a man and woman, that's all sacred. And it's not sacred because we say it is. It's sacred because God designed it, right? Nature is sacred. The earth is sacred. In that, now don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about trees or you pray to trees or anything. I don't mean that way. I mean, it's a gift of God. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. It's His. And He puts us here, and He expects us to be good stewards of it, I think, I would imagine. So if God gives it, it's sacred. But Psalm 139:12, yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to thee. For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book I love this, in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, which as yet there was none of them. In other words, all of your days He had written them before you lived the first one. Wow. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So the author takes this verse and he does a super duper job. I was kind of like, you go, dude. Because I think it's important. So he pulls out the fact that there's some words here that when you read them, particularly in the King James Version of the Scriptures, you're like, what? Huh? What's that mean? What's that about? The first word he pulls out is in verse 13 is possessed. For thou hast possessed my reins. Reins is in there too. So let's tinker with that word possessed. What's God got to do with you before you're you? I think that's a good question to ask if we're going to think about, is life sacred? So possessed in Hebrew, now biblical words aren't like English words. Biblical words can have multiple meanings. They are nuanced. And when translators grab this and they go to the Greek or the Hebrew, that's why some translations translate a word this way and not that way, right? And they just do the best they can with what, try to find the most closest meaning that fits in there. But in Hebrew, possessed can mean a couple of things. One is to buy, like in Ruth 4, Boaz negotiating the purchase of Elimelech's land. Same word, to buy. It can also mean create, like in Genesis 14:22, that God is the possessor of heaven and earth. God did not buy the earth. He made it, right? So you wouldn't use the buy word in that verse, right? It would make no sense. God doesn't have to buy anything. He made it. He's the creator of it. So in that sense, in that place, God is the possessor or creator of heaven and earth, right? Then there's the word reins. I like this word. Somebody better take my reins. Yeah, reins. There's several meanings for reins. It can mean kidneys. Your kidneys. You think God's talking about my kidneys here? Maybe not. It can also, like in Job 19:26 and 27, it can mean the entire body. Okay? It can mean the entire body because that's certainly the way it's used in the Job passage. Jeremiah contrasts, using this idea, the superficial the superficial, the outward, the mouth, the outward stuff, to the innermost part of us in Jeremiah 12:2. Right? So you got three possible translations here. It can be kidneys, it can be entire body, or it can be the innermost being, our heart and our will and our thought and our motives and our intents. So if we opt for create for the word possessed, which I'm going to suggest to you, I think that makes the most sense. And we understand the word for reigns to be innermost being, I think that really captures what this verse is saying. So what is it saying? For thou hast created my innermost parts. Thou hast covered. Now this is another word, covered. We got to cover covered, right? Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I'll come back to that later. Secret can, so it says in secret. Secret can also mean hiding place or covering, right? That's a better translation that makes more sense to me. So in a hiding place or in a covering place in the womb. So what is this verse saying? It says that God created us and all that makes us, and he covered us in our mother's womb before we ever had a birthday. Now, if we stop there, I want to suggest to you that really one big affirmation we can take from this is that before we're born, God is active, involved, and present, and working, and moving, and touching us. We are people before we're born. Amen? Do you agree with that? So anyways, so then he says, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, the word in that verse that stands out the most to me is made. Made. I like to make things. I especially enjoy running electric stuff. I love doing electricity. Love it. I'm not real good with split circuits, and I can't put a breaker box in your house. But if there's one already there, I guarantee you I can run you some electric. I can do it. I love to build things. I like to pound nails, and I built the breezeway in our house last year when I got that bad infection in my elbow. What else have I made? I built a bedroom onto our house that we tore off when we moved out because my mom wanted it gone. So we had made it gone. Yeah, it was, it's hurting me. I got to stand. That was a lot of work. You like building things. Anybody like to build things? Anybody like to create? Yeah, Lois, I know you do. You know, she goes to Lowe's and she buys little kits of nails and screwdrivers. And she just went the other day and come home with a bunch of, and they're so pretty. Little baby teeny hammers with pink handles, and there's.
To go show you, when we lived on Possum Holler, we had turned our garage into a family room. I was sitting there one day and I told Rodney, I said, we need a door going from the old front room into the new family room. Instead of everybody going through the kitchen and everything, I said, it's nice that we got a door there. He said, oh, good. I said, okay. He came home and there was a doorway cut, it was framed, it was trimmed, it had the trim already wired and everything. And he walked in and said, who's been here? I said, nobody. He said,
You did it. So you like to build things. You know, one thing, I love the little story of this little kid who went to the first time he ever saw the Grand Canyon. And the first words out of his mouth was, whoa, something big happened here. Right? Made. I think that's such an important word. It speaks to purpose. It speaks to intention. It speaks to that whatever you are, you're not an accident. God made you, shaped you, formed you, knew you before you were ever born, knew all the days of your life. He had already, he knows you. You're a person. And I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and my soul knoweth right well. My substance, in verse 15, was not hid from thee when I was made in secret. Now that word secret, we talked a little bit about that. It's not that God was hiding out and trying not to be caught making you. Secret can mean covering. Secret can mean in a hiding place. So I think what that says is that before you were ever born, is that God knew you and he covered you. Man, I tell you what, I'm beginning to really understand that for my own walk in the Lord. The idea that God didn't show up in my life recently. In fact, I'm aware that God was very much at work in my life before I ever knew him. I could talk your leg off. I didn't know that then. I wasn't aware of it. Mountain State Christian School was one of those things. I was so mad at my mom when she sent me there. I wanted to know what I ever did to deserve that. I thought only bad boys had to go there. You know, I'm like, I'm not a bad boy. I'm going to this Christian school. What's up with this? I was really mad. I was, and didn't like the fact I had to get in a van and drive all that distance to go to school. South Point High School was right down the road, you know, and didn't like having to wear long sleeves for gym class. Didn't like that a bit. It's hot, sweating bullets all the time. Had to read the Bible. What was up with that? Didn't like it at all. Huh? Oh, well, see, I went to, was it 7th or 8th, 9th, and 10th, or 10th, 11th, and 9th, 10th, and 11th, I think. I went to South Point my senior year because I wanted to graduate from my public high school. But I'm being silly about it. But the truth is that there were people who influenced me there. I didn't know they were. Oh yeah, English, yes. Straighten up and fly right in her class. You know, I took their desk and jammed it up against the door one time so she couldn't get back in. Well, I was the chief heathen. Huh? Well, I remember that. I forgot all about that. Yes, she did. Barbarian. Yes, I remember. I forgot all about that. Wow, yeah. I remember, you know, just so God was there. I didn't think about him much as a kid. I didn't give him any notice or thought. I was just busy living my life, being a wild barbarian, and you know, doing my thing. And my mom and dad weren't necessarily religious people. They were raised, you know, my grandma and grandpa Hathaway were very religious people. And I don't know, not so much my grandpa and grandpa Adkins, but I remember there was a time in my mom and dad's house when he made wine, destroyed all my mom's clothes one time because one of his wine bottles blew up in the closet, destroyed every dress she had. Yeah, it was a bad day. You know, we didn't go to church at all, but I remember I brought home one day a plaster thing that I did at Mountain State. It was acknowledge the Lord in all your, I still have this thing. It's at home in my office at home. Acknowledge him in all your ways and he will direct your paths. I don't know what class we did that in. We did a little plaster Paris thing and we painted it and everything. I painted it fall colors. It's got little walnuts on it and stuff. And never read my Bible, but you know what? Every time I went in to watch television, I had to look at that. Yeah, it was right there. And I read it once in a while. Had no clue what it meant. So God was always there. But even more importantly than that, before I was ever born, on April 15th, 1966, God was there. He had plans. He knew me. He knew who I'd be.
Mom says, "Our hands have made me and fashioned."
Yes. Oh, think about that, Deanna. Do you know that no two people have the same fingerprint? Yeah. I read an article one time about how babies' fingerprints get made in mama's womb. I can't remember what it said, but it's so cool how that happens. And DNA. Yeah, I have my mom and dad's DNA, but I don't have DNA from anybody else, right? DNA, I mean, that's a miracle, right? The miracle of life. And shaped me and fashioned me. God knew that I would have a big afro. I know, right? That's crazy to think about that. God knew what I would look like. He knew He knew I'd be here tonight, right? It's important to know. That goes back to worldview. If you don't have a worldview that begins with God, starts with God, doesn't acknowledge God as creator, as the beginner, the designer, anything will work. You can come from baboons at that point, right? And, I love it whenever scientists make discoveries and they're like, you get this hint of, wow, boy, there must be more than we know. And I'm like, duh. No kidding. Yeah, there's a lot more you don't know. Right? And thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. And in thy book, I read this a while ago, all the days, even today, and tomorrow, and yesterday. God knows all about our days. I want to shift a little bit. Don't want to go over tonight. The author, there's a couple. The author asks a lot of questions, but I want to isolate two. I almost said it's on page 70. I bet it's not page 70 in your book. Do our bodies belong to us? And does an unborn child belong to us? Ooh, that's a heavy question, right? This is worldview again. The first question is a stewardship question, essentially. Why? Because I did not create my body. I had nothing to do with it. It's a good thing we don't remember being born, right? It's such a good thing we don't remember being born. I don't remember nothing at 1 year old. I don't remember nothing of that. None of y'all had anything to do with that day. You didn't make yourself. Your birthday wasn't yours. You had no capacity or ability to do anything about it. You just were here. Life is a gift. It's an amazing gift that defies words. I'm so glad to be alive, to experience life, to breathe and to love and to know and to even the hard stuff, to be here and to go through this journey. I'm grateful. Life is precious. Life is sacred. Life is a gift. And anything God gives, He expects us to steward. There's your solid theological affirmation. If God gives it, stewardship is attached to it. Can't get out of that. God gives us a lot of stuff, right? He gives us relationships. He gives us money, well, the ability to earn it, right? He gives us our emotions, our minds. Your mind is a gift. This is why Paul talks in Romans 12 about the renewing of your mind. God has an awful lot to say about our minds. He does. Yeah, that's a gift, huh? Do what, Indiana? Well, it's still a precious gift. Yes. Stewardship. So the answer to that question is no. Our bodies don't belong to us. If you don't have a worldview that has God in it, you're going to have trouble with that. Because if God is not God, and if He is not creator, and He didn't make you, then then your body belongs to you. God belongs to somebody. You can't just say it's nobody's. And really, doesn't that tap into the prevailing mindset of our culture? It's my body. It's my stuff. I'll do it the way I want to, right? Don't you dare tell me what I can do. And there again, we go back to worldview. If your worldview has ultimately left you to do nothing other than to make yourself God, then it is an offensive thing for anybody to suggest to you that you can be told what to do, right? It's I don't know, just me personally, I think that's a very real thing in our culture. Don't you dare tell me what to do. Yeah. Anti-authority. People have such a problem with authority, right? Authority is important. Somebody needs to be in charge. Yeah? We don't want, it'd be a car with no steering wheel, right?
Because everything is, there's certain ages that, I remember several young guys coming to our house when Isaac was younger, and they would be part of, because Isaac was getting a Christian band together and everything, and we'd talk to them, and a couple of the guys just came out and said, and it just blew us away because we know how Isaac and Isaiah was raised, and we knew that they didn't feel this way, but we actually had one guy look at us and say, hey, I have a real, how do I word it?
He said he had a problem with authority.
There.
Yeah, especially with men. Which,
He said he hated his dad,
yeah.
so he didn't want to listen to
Yes.
him.
Oh, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a mental health professional, but I can tell you that what I see, a little thing, something about every time I open up my mouth, my mother comes out. Yeah. It's like I read that. I'm like, huh. Okay. Yeah, I know what that's about. Yeah. Then the next question, does an unborn child belong to us? So the author cites Isaiah 44:2, and I'm going to read that to you. Thus saith the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb. So with that scripture in mind, the answer to that question biblically is no. Unborn child doesn't belong to us in the sense that we can do anything we want to, right? And so from a very biblical perspective, and see, this goes back to the sanctity and the sacredness of life. And your view on that is going to be skewed one way or another depending on your worldview, and that's what you think about God. Where's God? Is there God? Where's he at? If he's real, what's he like? Is he near? Is he far? Is he just some idea? Is he just some impersonal force? I could go so many directions. Like if God is just an impersonal force, then his omniscience, his omnipotence, and his omnipresence at that point don't become relevant. If he's not a God that's personal, how can I be in relationship with an idea? How can I be in relationship with an impersonal force? God isn't really seeking just to be out there and us down here. He wants involved in our lives. He's a personal God. He's a relational God. He is Jehovah in the Old Testament, God's personal name. He is. That's why God in the Old Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Sidkenu, all those different, the God who sanctifies, the God who provides, Jehovah Jireh, all of these personal, relatable things about God as he relates to us. If God is not God, then he is not personal. And then it's all up to us at that point. So the unborn does not belong to us. I'll stop right there. I'm going to read this little thing out of here and we're going to go home. Anybody got anything? I've talked and talked and talked. Teresa, go ahead.
Even Eve was telling Adam when she had Cain, she said, I have gotten a man from the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
She knew.
Yeah, that's good. Even the dawn of time and creation. See, that's good, Teresa, because whenever we are fully aware that God is God, there's just some stuff that's just given. You don't question it, right? And Eve surely knew. So yeah, God gave that to her. It wasn't hers. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. At the end of the lesson, we're going to read this and we'll go home. It's the point of special interest. I read this and I thought, oh wow, that's so cool. Especially since I'm a recently brand new minted granddad, right? Yeah. Some say human life begins at birth, but doctors and scientists tell us, isn't that funny? These doctors and scientists are figuring this out. That long before then, even before the mother feels her unborn baby's movements, within the miniature infant wakes and sleeps, squirms about, squints, swallows, breathes fluid, hiccups, digests, hears, tries to cry, can feel pain, flexes his or her fingers, punches, kicks. Oh, wow. Yeah, and even sucks his or her thumb or toes. When Lois was pregnant with Isaac, I would lay in bed and I would watch and all that stuff. He's in there. He's there. All this vigorous activity occurs in the first half of pregnancy. Most pregnancies aren't even detected until the 6th week. By then, the baby's heart has been beating for 3 weeks. Whoa. Brain waves can be read. The nervous system has been complete for about 2 weeks, and he or she is about to begin moving, although the mother will not feel for 3.5 months more. By the 8th week, the baby's skeleton, head, face, arms, legs, fingers, with fingerprints, toes, and circulatory and major muscle systems are complete, and all of his or her body organs are present in rudimentary states. By the 12th week, the baby already shows a distinct 12 weeks. How long is that? How many months? 3 months, right? 4, 8, 12, yeah. By the 12th week, the baby already shows a distinct individuality in both appearance and behavior, with facial expressions resembling those of his or her parents. By the 6th, I know, right? By the 6th week, the baby's eyelashes have grown. Bing, 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 bing. Yeah, yeah. By 16.5 weeks, all 20 milk teeth buds are in place. What is that? Okay, that one threw me. I didn't read this book. I missed that. Okay, I'll take their word for it. By the 20th week, hair appears on the baby's head. My little afro was just right there. Yeah. Okay. By the 22nd week, the baby can open his or her eyes. Scientists agree that new life begins at conception.
Scientists agree.
Yeah, scientists. Yeah. I'm like, you guys are just now getting on board with this. All of that says in volumes and loudly, you are a person from the moment you are conceived. Right? Doesn't matter, you're a person. So, is life sacred? Yes, it is so sacred. I think as the church, as Christians, if there ever was a time when we need to be voices for this, is now. Yeah, so God help us as a country. God help us. All hearts clear? God love you. I appreciate you all tonight. Let's bow our heads and pray. Father God, tonight, God, we thank you for this critical word from your word, this topic that is so important, so relevant for our day. Bless, Lord, us as we go out these doors. God, help us to be salt and light, to be influencers in this world for you. Bless us, keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Good to see you tonight. Have a great week.